Hey guys, welcome to the Ramsey Paul Show. Today is Tuesday, October 7th. And as always, if you like the show, be sure to like and subscribe, share it with your friends. All right, we go over the top news stories of the day, and we are still in the government shutdown. But most people are like, what do I care? Netflix is still running, right? So it hasn't really impacted a lot. Sometimes I wonder, what if the government never reopened? Would it really matter? Because all the essential services are still going. So the question is, why have these non-essential services? But they're at gridlock between the administration and the Republicans, who want to eliminate subsidies for the ACA, that's Obamacare, and also make sure illegal aliens stay off of Medicaid. And the Democrats, they want to continue those subsidies. And this is all what looms is we have a huge budget deficit, and the dollar's not doing really well. Gold is at like $4,000 an ounce. Uh, Bitcoin has been really high. So, yeah, the dollar just doesn't buy as much as it used to. And part of this could be because of the deficit. We're having to print a lot more money or borrow a lot more money to make up the difference. So, that's kind of the background to the situation. But let's listen here. This is a video from House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. I never thought, I don't know if anyone in the House of Representatives of the United States of America should ever have the name Hakeem. I just, maybe on a basketball court, like for Nigeria, Hakeem Jeffries slams it, but not in the House of Representatives. But sadly, we have that. All right, let's see what Hakeem has to say here and about the government shutdown.
Any leverage do Democrats have? Can you all try to force procedural votes on the floor if they ever gavel back?
Yeah, watch with her. She's like this blonde woman, I think, with this heaviest eyeshadow I've seen.
And what's the next move?
Well, public sentiment is everything, and the voices of the American people, we continue to hold events here in Washington. We'll be holding events all across the country, and we know that millions of people over the next few days and next few weeks are going to receive notices from their insurance companies indicating that because of Republican inaction, their premiums, copays, and deductibles are about to skyrocket. This is not a manufactured issue. It's a Republican healthcare crisis that is unfolding in real time. And
this is the Obamacare, and it's also known as, let me get what it's actually called, the Affordable Care Act. That's ACA. And what that does is it helps subsidize middle class people, that if your insurance doesn't pay for, if your employer doesn't pay for an insurance plan, and a lot of employers don't now because it's big, it's expensive. So unless you have a big corporation, you don't get it. So the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, the idea was that everything comes together in the marketplace, and because of economies to scale, that would provide more affordable insurance. That didn't happen though, because the problem is not so much insurance. And believe me, I hate insurance companies. I've had to dealt with them just this week again. They're liars and thieves. Don't get me started on insurance companies. But in their defense, they have to make a profit, and healthcare costs have gone through the roof a lot faster than inflation. And until that's addressed, you're never going to fix the problem, because what happens, healthcare costs go up, become very expensive, and the insurance companies, they have to charge you more. And we saw that even if you buy it in the marketplace. So what the government used to do is, based on your income, you could get a subsidy. So your payment each month for healthcare wouldn't be that bad. So let's say if you wanted to get Blue Cross and Blue Shield health insurance, and typically it'd be $700 a month for you. But let's say your income's $30,000 a year. The government would maybe say, oh, well, what we'll do is we'll give you a $500 subsidy. So you just have to pay $200 a month. And this allowed a lot of people to get healthcare or insurance. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to get it.
I don't believe the American people are going to stand for it. And they know that Democrats are standing on their side.
Ha!
Yeah. So it's going to be the blame game. The Republicans are emphasizing the whole illegal aliens on Medicaid, and the Democrats are right. Technically, they're not on Medicaid, but Medicaid still pays for them, right? So they don't get a Medicaid card. I don't know if you're on Medicaid. I've never been on Medicaid. Do you get a card, or you have to apply for it? I'm not sure. I assume you do. And so it's like illegals don't do that, but what they do is they show up at the emergency room. Say some little Juan has a cold, and they get treated because the emergency room, by law, they have to treat everyone, and they're not going to pay, so they eat the cost, the hospital. But then the hospital is saying, hey, we got to stay in business, we got to pay the doctors, we got to pay the light bill, so they charge back to Medicaid. So Medicaid does pay for illegals, just not directly. So that's one problem. But the bigger problem is the Affordable Care Act, which millions of Americans do rely upon. But on the other hand, I understand the Republicans saying was skinny too expensive because healthcare is going through the roof and we don't have the money to pay for that. Now, I would be more sympathetic with that argument with the Republicans if the Republicans said, okay, we just don't have money to give subsidies for middle class Americans for their health care, but we understand because we don't have money for that, you get higher priority than other people, other nations. So obviously, before we should cut off subsidies to middle class Americans, we should end all foreign aid to Ukraine and to Israel and a lot of that stuff. And obviously, that's not going to happen. It'd be wailing, gnashing of teeth, calls of anti-Semitism, the usual hysterics. So that's the problem I have. I understand we're in a tight situation. We have to tighten our belts. But Israel, our money we give to Israel, we never tighten our belts. They always have a blank check. And that's the problem. And I'm not just picking on Israel, but they get the most amount of our money. And I would include Ukraine in the camp. We just don't have the money to do all these things. So it'll be interesting to see who gets the blame and who blinks. Will the Republicans blink first, or will the Democrats? I think a reasonable solution for the Republicans at this point is to continue to fund the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare. Millions of Americans have got used to it by now. And I know we have problems with healthcare. We need to address that too. The costs are crazy. It's not so much doctors or nurses' salaries, it's administration. It just needs to be gutted. The government needs to look at the administrators, probably wipe out 80% of them. But that needs to be done. And we also need to cut other programs. Like we should cut the military spending. We should cut all this foreign aid, all these wars we're in. And yes, we should cut funding to Israel before we start cutting subsidies to Americans. And then in return, I would like the Republicans to say, we're not paying at all for illegal aliens. If they go to the emergency room, we'll send ICE. And then after they get treatment, we round them up and send them back to their homeland. And I'm sure they can get good treatment in Mexico or Colombia or Venezuela or Haiti. Maybe Haiti has a witch doctor. Why should we use white medicine? We should respect their ancient ways. So send them back to Haiti and they can have a witch doctor do a voodoo chant or something on them. So, because I wouldn't want to expose them to white supremacy and medical science. So that's what it should be. All right. Number 2 story. I've talked a lot. I did a stream yesterday about Civil War II. I don't know if you guys saw it. It's by Thomas Chittum, his book, and I hope you guys check it out. I thought it was pretty interesting. I went through all the points of indicating a potential civil war in America. And I think we have another thing that could indicate this: the corruption we see in the government against political opponents has become like a banana republic. And here we go here. Let me just show you this here.
I want to thank Senator Grassley. It is because of his relentless advocacy for whistleblowers that a lot of this information is surfacing right now. We wouldn't know about the list of 100 Republican entities that were targeted by Jack Smith's Arctic Frost investigation. I don't think we know about this as well. So we need whistleblowers.
What he's talking about is under Biden, the FBI secretly wiretapped a lot of Republicans' telephone calls. It's illegal to do that sort of thing, but this is a dirty politics that the FBI engaged in.
I think Dan Bongino and other folks in the FBI, they don't know where all the records are hidden. They still don't. They're not necessarily getting 100% cooperation. But this is outrageous what has happened. I just want to give you a timeline of this. I think you've already got the FBI sheet that shows the number of members of Congress that were targeted.
So these are our representatives, people that we elect to Congress, but because of their political points of views, and they were Republicans, Biden ordered the FBI to act like the KGB or the Gestapo, and for political reasons to spy on these people.
Senator Kelly, Senators Graham, Haggerty, Hawley, Sullivan, Tuberville, myself, Senator Lummis, and Blackburn. This memo was dated September of 2023. To put it all into context, the Mar-a-Lago raid occurred in August of 2022. Jack Smith announced the indictments against President Trump in August of 2023. So this is almost 2 months later. They're casting this net, this fishing expedition against members of the Senate and the House. Again, I've been investigating this with Senator Grassley. This doesn't surprise me, but it should shock every American.
Yeah, it really should. We've become numb to this, but this is Banana Republic style. You shouldn't be using the FBI as for political purposes.
Of what the Biden administration has done. And by the way, this is the first time I was targeted by the FBI. Under the Obama administration, the same thing happened to both Senator Grassley and I. As part of the Foreign Influence Task Force, we were giving a briefing to try and convince us that the Hunter Biden laptop was no big deal. Basically, trying to throw us off the track. So this is major corruption that's being revealed.
Yeah, Biden actually should be arrested for this, as long as Comey should go to prison for this too.
Inside the Obama and Biden Department of Justice, the FBI, and I'll turn it over to I guess Senator Haggerty, who's one of the individuals. Again, none of us were subject or targets of this investigation. There's no predicate. There's no reason for this other than a fishing expedition, which again should outrage and shock every American.
What he means by fishing expedition is the police, traditionally in America, they're only allowed to spy on you if they have a warrant. There's reasonable cause that you're breaking the law. Let's say they think they have evidence you're a drug dealer. They don't have a right just to randomly spy on people, at least in America. But that is what happened. And it is pretty shocking, really, the situation. And some more update on this here is, here we go. Breaking: Biden Department of Justice lackey Jack Smith secretly accessed private calls and messages from nearly a dozen GOP senators, including Lindsey Graham, Marsha Blackburn, and Ron Johnson, during his January 6th probe. So they illegally spied and wiretapped these senators. FBI Director Kash Patel has confirmed the surveillance, and senior officials are briefing lawmakers on what was collected. So, yeah, this is pretty serious stuff, and the corruption is really quite amazing, what happened under the Biden administration. And when we live under lawless times like this, obviously, again, the government doesn't feel like it has to follow the Constitution or the law anymore. So you should assume all your telephone calls and text messages are probably being illegally read if they wanted to. You don't even have to do anything wrong, but our government, but they won't have any qualms of breaking the law and spying on you. So obviously the stuff that you think is private is probably not really private. All right, number 3 is what I call controlled opposition. And after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, they really started to promote this kind of skinny kid. I thought he was gay, but I don't know if he is. Brillin Hollyhan. I mean, that sounds like a gay last name, Hollyhan, as his successor. And let's just take a. I never heard of him, but we're really trying to promote him as the next thing. And let's see here. Let's take a look at what Hollyhan has to say here. Okay, here we go.
You're saying you are like we're continuing supporting legal immigrants in the country. I said the melting pot absolutely something that we should continue to do.
All right, so Hollyhan is saying that we should support legal immigration.
We should keep increasing the amount of legal immigrants.
Legal immigrants, yes, we're a melting pot. I absolutely support that.
So I'm sure you understand these groups vote overwhelmingly against American values. They vote for the Democratic Party. So surely that's the death of the Republican Party, right?
Yes, but we can't close our borders and have our nation where we don't accept anybody to come in. So I've been a very big proponent against.
Plenty of countries do that.
We can't just completely close our borders off and never allow somebody else to.
Why not? Why not? And see, the thing that pisses me off about this guy, and he's funded by a lot of Israel organizations, he would never say this about Israel. That Israel, they can't control their border. They have to have open borders and allow in legally, let's say, millions of Muslims into Israel to vote. He would never say that, right? He would never say that. But for America, he says this.
Migrate into the country, though.
Why not?
Because that's how the country started, as a melting pot. Like, we welcome people in.
This country did not start as a melting pot. A term was invented in 1910 by Israel Zangwill.
Some Jewish guy invented that term in 1910.
So the people that came over from England didn't melt into America and
No,
allow
they started in
mercenaries.
America. They didn't
Yeah, they started in America. There wasn't an America before they got here.
melt in anything.
Okay. I've been very clear that I'm against illegal immigration coming into this country and plaguing our generation from not getting jobs, making our streets unsecure, and actually, like...
So he's deflecting. This guy can't even answer the question because the guy asked that was questioning him had reasonable points. Like, what difference does it make if it's legal or illegal? You're changing the whole culture of this country. They're not compatible with this country. And he couldn't answer that except for saying, well, we've always been a melting pot. And this guy said, no, that term was invented in 1910. And this country wasn't founded as a melting pot. And this guy only thing he could say, Brillin could say is, oh, well, I've always been clear I'm against illegal immigration. Well, who cares? That wasn't the question.
Americans' future, therefore there's no safe America and free America to grow up in.
Again, my question wasn't about illegal immigration, it was about legal immigration.
And I think we should support more people coming legally and not illegally.
Okay, I think we all understand what your position is. Thank you.
Very good. The guy that questioned him could have been a Ramsey Paul viewer. So, yeah, Brillin Hollyhan, he was what I call controlled opposition, people that act like they're on the right, but Brillin's fine with the destruction of America as long as it's done legally, right? That's his whole point. Like, what difference does that make? But the same guy, he would be opposed to that happening in Israel. So my response to that is fuck him and these assholes. They are the enemy. They're as much as the enemy as the left. In fact, I actually have more respect for an anti-fall guy than this piece of shit. A lot more respect because at least they're honest about their views. This guy is a snake. He is a wolf in sheep's clothing that Jesus warned us about. They act like they're on your side, but they seek to devour you. He does not give a shit about American interest. That's not who's paying his bills. And it's outrageous. But the good thing is a lot of people are seeing through that now. I think the days of being able to disfund someone like this guy and make him stick are gone. It's not going to, I don't think it's going to be effective anymore. All right. Let's see here where we are. All right. We have some ICE updates now and take a look at that. And this is another example of headed towards the Civil War is when we don't have any cohesive nation or country, or we don't have a cohesive nation. We have multiple nations in our country. And there's one aspect, a lot of groups of people who want illegals to come in this country because they want to make sure it's no longer a white nation. They hate white people. They want to break us apart. And that's the number one most important thing. And they don't care if the people are illegal. They think illegals should stay here. And one of these is the mayor of Chicago, which doesn't help the black population, but he doesn't care about that. He hates white people more than he likes blacks.
And today, we are signing an executive order aimed at reining in this out-of-control administration. The order establishes ICE-free zones. That means that city property and unwilling private businesses will no longer serve as staging grounds for these raids.
Well, he doesn't have the authority to do that. Immigration is at the federal level, not on a city level. So just because you're a mayor of a city doesn't mean you can determine immigration policy. And you can't say, well, these illegals, they should be here. And so we're just going to override federal law. He doesn't have the authority to do that. And if he continues to do that, he should be arrested. And he's basically engaging in an insurrection. Remember insurrection after January 6th? That was like the worst thing ever. Well, that's what he's engaging in. I'm not against always insurrection. Hell, I was sympathetic with the Confederacy. So that was insurrection. Sometimes insurrection is needed, but they are engaging in an insurrection. All right. And let's listen to the DHS secretary, Christie. She's a girl that killed Pickles, right? The little puppy.
Our intelligence indicates that these people are organized. They're getting more and more people on their team as far as attacking officers, and they're making plans to ambush them and to kill them. We have specific officers and agents that have bounties that have been put out on their heads. It's been $2,000 to kidnap them, $10,000 to kill them. They've released their pictures. They've sent them between their networks, and it's an extremely dangerous situation and unprecedented. So we've put protective detail around those individuals, changed some of our operations to keep our officers safe. But make no mistake, this isn't just about, protesting free speech or that they don't like that people out here are upholding the law of our country. They're actually going out there and saying, kill these people and we'll give you this much money to do it.
People that do that, they should go to jail for a long time. Hopefully they'll be arrested. And again, this is a sign of upcoming civil war when people are paying bounties to kill police officers because you don't like the law of the land. And so I know a politician in Russia said that the United States is headed towards a civil war. And I believe that too. I think we are headed. It's not next year, but within 10 to 20 years, I think that it will happen. Very similar. It won't be like our civil war in the 19th century. It will be more like Spain in the 1930s. And hopefully a good guy, the good guys will win, just like the good guys won in Spain. Hopefully we will have our Franco to deal with these people. All right, let's see here. Now there is some white pill stuff, good news. And I think the whole globalism or woke agenda is in its death throes. I did a video about this. These sort of ideologies, they tend to last about 70 years. There's reasons for that. And the whole woke agenda really started after World War II, I would say basically like 1955. So we're 2025, so it's 70 years. And it sort of petered out. Now, a lot of people pushed back on it and said, well, in 1955, we're more woke than we were in 1955. Yeah, of course. I mean, in 1955, most people wouldn't have noticed it. It was mostly on the university. Universities started in Columbia University and like a cancer spread, but it got more and more into the culture until this back in 1955, they couldn't imagine that they would be doing sex changes on little toddlers or having homosexuals in dresses doing drag queen story time hours for little kids. That would have been unimaginable. You'd probably be arrested just for saying that. But here we are, right? So we're at the end when it's starting to die, and we're starting to see some pushback to this whole aspect of it. And let's listen to this.
We need a renaissance, not just of policy, but of principle. We need a European Union that returns to its roots, a community of nations.
Nations, and if you watched my show yesterday about Civil War II, and I've mentioned a lot, nations are a people. They're not the government. So nations would be the German people, not German citizens. So if you're an African or a Moroccan or a Turk with German citizenship, you're not part of the German nation. You may be a German citizen, but you're not part of the people. And a nation should be for the people.
Not a supranational entity. A union that respects diversity rather than erasing it.
I've often said this. When I was in Europe, I was interviewed by NBC. They didn't put my answer on the television, but they asked me why I was at a nationalist conference in Finland. And I said, because I respect diversity. And the best way to maintain diversity in Europe, for example, you have the Finnish people in Finland, German people in Germany, French in France. We keep our nations together. That's how you keep the nice diversity of how Finland is different than, let's say, Italy. And I think that's a good thing.
Union where freedom means choice in markets, in speech.
And speech is a key one. They don't have much speech freedom anymore in Europe because, again, they're dying. So they're trying to lash out and silence or threaten anyone that opposes their globalist agenda.
In daily life, we must reclaim Europe. Not from outsiders, but from insiders who have forgotten that Europe is.
Right. It's not the Russians that are taking over Europe. The corruption is within. Same thing's happening in America. The corruption, what's happened to our country and why we're failing is not because of Russians or the Chinese. It's because of internal forces, people that shouldn't be here. They're not compatible.
Europe is not Brussels. It is Prague, Warsaw, Budapest, Rome, Paris, Madrid. It is the voices of citizens who want to be heard.
So that gives you an idea. I'm not going to go the whole speech, but just that this would be spoken. And this was a former, he's the next prime minister of Czech Republic. And so it's great to see this. So very, very good to see this that is happening there. And as I alluded to, as we are becoming the West is becoming insecure because of the woke culture is dying, they're lashing out. And this girl on X, Eva, I can't pronounce her name, of Vladingbrook, she got threatened by Australia, the safety commissioner. And the safety commissioner is they keep the populace safe, but not by not hearing dissident ideas. It's a very Orwellian Soviet idea, right? We're keeping everyone safe because you can't say immigration is bad. And so she was threatened to be fined a fine X about $1 million a day if the post remained up. So it's hidden now in Australia. So supposedly a free country, Australia, they hide information from their citizens, political information, to keep them safe, because questioning immigration is a dangerous idea and it may hurt the safety of the people that live on Australia. This is how sick these people are, but they're very desperate. So, yeah, that's the news stories for today. And again, as always, it's wonderful to be here with you guys. Thank you so much for watching. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.